It's November 25th, 2024. I am Agile Pearl, and it's time to get in the weeds. It's a busy, busy week and a busy, busy day. Jeremy Lambert is here. I'll ask you how you're doing, because then we got to jump right into the business. How are you, Jeremy?
Well, it is a busy week, a lot to talk about, but we got a guest to open us up here on this beautiful Monday.
That's right. We mentioned on Friday that we are going to be very excited to, and now we will bring you, as we said at the top of the hour, here we are, from MLW, recently re-signed, super duper duper star. Don't just trust me. I'm scared of the man, so I got to say the nice things. Recently re-signed with with MLW per Fightful Select, and we're looking forward to seeing him and all the stars of MLW at Eric Bischoff's One Shot Thursday, December 5th at the Melrose Ballroom in New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mads Krule Krügger. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. What's going on?
I'm nervous here. Jeremy was telling me a few things before we got started about things you've done and things you do, but Jeremy, I'll let you start so we can make things a little comfortable for me here.
Well, let's start with re-signing with MLW. What went into this decision? Because we talked, you were on a different show, Spotlight, probably about 2 months or so ago. You're saying you still take independent dates, and you kind of had a handshake agreement with MLW, and you knew they would do good business by you. You would do good business by them. So what went into the decision to sign a contract with them?
A conversation with Court and myself really is where it started. But and I'm sure we'll talk about more of this later, because I think you guys have probably already been told some of the other things going on besides just signing a wrestling contract. But there was opportunity there for me to kind of fill my resume a little more backstage, and to get into some producing and aging, and that's where I see my future in the long run, in the professional world of professional wrestling. That's where my passion is. I'm really big into telling stories. I always have. I don't see a point in doing this if we're not telling stories, and that's my personal opinion. So that opportunity is what led me to say, okay, this is a good chance. This is a good opportunity for me to learn and grow, and learn from somebody that's been in this business for a very, very long time and been in very many different companies.
With the opportunity to produce and work backstage, is there anyone that you've been able to shadow while you've been doing stuff with MLW?
Alex Greenfield, Greeny, and then you also, of course, Court Bauer, and that's, hey, straight to the top, right? So, it's, and like I said, it was a good opportunity, and I've never done it outside of an independent wrestling scene. I've done it. I've kind of been doing it for years and didn't even realize what I was doing until probably a year or so ago. But now it's kind of become the focal point, and I see more of it, and I realize what I'm trying to learn and what I'm trying to do and where I'm trying to go.
Besides producing, is there anything else behind the scenes that you're kind of doing?
I'm aging some matches now for MLW, but yeah, that's those kind of the two things right now. I'm sure that will grow over time. Like I said, I'm such a one. Like, I don't think I think one way. I'm usually on one track. So if I'm going to a show and I've got my story and I've got my things, that's usually what I'm focused on. I may or may not necessarily be focused on the entirety of the show. You know what I mean? I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just, I'm concerned about what I'm doing and what's happening around myself. And now I've started kind of thinking outside of that box and what's going on with everyone, and how does it all tie in together, and how do you get all tie in together to create a good wrestling show? Because at the end of the day, that's what it takes. It can't just be one story. One story can't necessarily carry a whole show. You've got to have other things going on as well to keep people's interest.
Do you think being a big dude like this is going to help you when you have to reel in Eric Bischoff and his ideas coming up for Eric Bischoff's One Show on December 5th?
I don't know. We may have to get him in and get him out pretty quick. I don't know if I want him around long.
No, please elaborate. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I love, actually, I've got to meet Eric one time with one of Conrad's shows over in and man, he's a great guy. It was a great day, but like I said, he's We can't let him hang around MLW too long.
You're no stranger to kind of matches in MLW's world of weapons of mass destruction matches. This one you had against Akira that just aired this past week on MLW Slaughterhouse. That's up for free on YouTube, on MLW's YouTube, if anybody wants to check it out. Honestly, one of the more insane matches I have seen. I just want to know why, how, and did you feel bad for what you did to Akira?
I will never feel bad for doing anything to Akira. No, the weapons of mass destruction match. What a cool concept! First of all, and it was accidental. I think almost like it started with the time around, and that was kind of when Contra imploded, and we were doing like the Contra Civil War, and that match was Court created that match, and the box, the mystery box, and you don't know what's in it. It explodes, and that was what led me to change into the cruel mask MLW. But that concept kind of led to, hey, this could actually be a thing. This could be something we bring out at the right time, for the right opponent, for the right situation. So it's cool, and I think it'll continue to grow and become its own match, over time. As we get deeper into it. Like I said, it was just there, and it become a thing the first time, and now it is a thing. And I think it will continue to be a match that we will use in the future. But we'll just have to see when and where.
So
I don't want to go. Oh, sorry, Joel.
No, go ahead.
I don't want magician revealing tricks or anything here. I just want to say that steel plate spot. That's one of the more disgusting things I've ever seen in wrestling. That looked absolutely gnarly. And then you stuffed them in a toxic waste bin to end off. But like when you're kind of putting this together with Akira, we've had Akira on the show before, and he's pretty much up for anything. Like, how does that go of like, hey, we want to do this. What are you thinking? Is it immediate yes, or is there a little bit of reservation there?
I got to be honest with you. You start talking with Akira, it's probably Akira's idea. So, and like the steel plate, you talk about the magic behind. There is no magic behind it. We're talking about a gusset plate. I don't know if you guys are familiar with buildings and how construction works, but you could walk out 100 yards from my house right now, and there's a barn, and I could show you, many gusset plates that are stuck in the rafters of this thing that are holding, 2x4s and 2x6s together. So that's what they're made to do. They weren't made to be stuck into your skull.
I love the fact that wrestling fans have now become like construction aficionados thanks to hardcore wrestling. What's the weirdest weapon you've been hit with? And also, what's the weirdest weapon you've used to hit somebody else?
Oh man, I don't you're probably Casanova Valentine and his strange sex toys from the netherworld. I think that's the nicest way I could say that, or the cleanest way I could say it. But yeah, he's got some interesting toys that he plays with, no pun intended. But I think that I don't know. There's been so much stuff over the last 3 years that I really probably couldn't tell you what I've hit somebody with, but I'm sure I've hit somebody with some weird things.
What are the moving forward in MLW aside from gold? Everyone's gonna say gold. You have your feud with Kojima. The last time you guys met, but there was no contest. Riddle got involved and everything there. But what are big picture goals for MLW for you?
Yeah, I think I go back to what we were just talking about. I think the big picture goal, and this has always been a goal, and I think I've said this in interviews for years now. The reason I like being a part of a company or, signing a contract, like purpose to me behind doing that is saying, I want to help build this brand, not just me, and I think that's a lost thing sometimes in professional wrestling. Guys go into places and they're not necessarily motivated to help try to grow the business as a whole or the company as a whole. But in my mind, with I did sales for many, many years. And the only way I make more money in that world is to help the company make more money. Right. And I don't see where the motivation changes. If I can help the company make more money, then I feel like we're all going to make more money, or we should. And then if we're not, we cross that bridge when we get there. So that's kind of that's always been my mindset. What can I do to help this entire thing make more money, and not just necessarily like in the ring or at a show. Like, what can we do outside of that? What kind of advertising can we do? What kind of outreaches can you do with a community? Just there's so many things to do to help grow a brand.
Was there a catalyst or a moment that kind of brought you to that and brought you back to MLW? Was it like again, you mentioned the conversations with Court, but like, was there something maybe you saw that said, man, I gotta get in to do this and be a part of this?
It's different this time around. From when I was there, it's only been, I think, a year and a half, 2 years since the first contract ended. That was the end of 2022. So it started 2023. So it was only a year really that I was gone. But in that time, there was such a changeover of talent. Guys left. Some guys moved on. Hammerstone went to TNA. Fatu is now obviously in the WWE. So there was a lot of movement. A lot of things happened backstage. There were some new people come in the management roles, and it just feels like a different group now. A lot of hungry young talent back there, but there's also the Riddles and the Kojimas, Suzuki, and you've got all this talent backstage that's been there, Bobby Fish, and getting to learn from them, be around these guys, and listen to them is an awesome experience. And like I said, it also feels like there's a lot more togetherness this time around. It's a pretty tight-knit group of people, and so I like that. That's what I'm looking for.
For people who haven't heard this story, Jacob Fatu and being his last opponent in MLW, what did that mean? And again, for people who haven't heard this story, Fatu actually picked you to be his last opponent.
Yeah, he did. No, it's that because he enjoyed it so much the first time around, and again, another one of those things that you go back and look at it, I didn't realize how great the work we were doing together was until I went back and looked at it, and you're like, wow, this was a great series of matches that we had, and the story that we told was really good. In the moment, you're just focused on that. You're focused on getting it done and making sure you're doing it the right way. But then you go back and look at it, you're like, well, I like that too, And so he appreciated it as well. It was a great honor, that he would put my name out there and say, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy I want to leave, on my back with Krule,
Favorite story that you've heard, taken, whatever, and moved into the wrestling world? Do you have one?
Say that one more time.
So, like, some people will take from movies and they'll play it out into a wrestling story. Some people will hear, an old fable or whatever it is, and they'll move it into a wrestling story. Is there something that you've heard or that you've, learned or watched along the way that you've been like, I got to use this in a wrestling story that's resonated with you?
I can't pull one off the top of my head right now. I'm sure I have. I'm influenced by movies and things like that. Definitely comic books and hell, you look at Contra. I think we can all agree that's pulled straight from G.I. Joe in every sense of the word, which is great. I lean into that when we start talking about stuff because I was a huge G.I. Joe mark when I was a kid, and so to kind of think about Contra as Cobra is a lot of fun because then you can really, like you just said, dig into some things from that and think about ways to put it together. And there were so many different groups involved with that. So, but yeah, I don't think there's one in particular I can pull off the top of my head, but I'm definitely influenced by movies and comics and things like that.
You mentioned the togetherness of the MLW locker room, and in our Fightful Select report, it mentions that you have become a locker room leader this time around. So I don't want you to take credit for being. Oh, I had an echo. Sorry, I don't want you to take credit for being now bringing the togetherness. But what does it mean to you to like try to maybe be that person as a veteran who's been there before, as a guy at the top of the card, like trying to bring everybody together?
Yeah, no, the most important thing is I would go back and remember the first day I walked into an MLW locker room and how I felt, that nervousness, you're here, here's your opportunity. Right. And I remember guys that would come to me that day and speak to me and talk to me and make me feel comfortable. I remember the guys who didn't. And so I do that now, when we have somebody new come in, it doesn't matter whether it's a guy everybody in the world knows or somebody that absolutely no one's going to have a clue who they are. I try to make sure I speak to them, give them some, just give them some advice about the day, because it's very easy. It's a lot different. You show up at an indie show at 5:00, you get dressed, you're just kind of hanging out, and then you do a show at 8 and you're going by 10:30 or 11. It's not to say it's not hard, but it is what it is. When you're doing these TV productions, you're there at 1:00 in the afternoon and you're there for 8 or 9 or 10 hours, however long. It can really wear on you, especially if you're not sure what's going on. You can exhaust yourself sitting around doing nothing, seriously, and it's good to try to get them to feel comfortable, get them involved with the rest of the locker room, and that way they feel like they're supposed to be there.
So as we start to wind down, we have a little game that we play on the channel. It's called Partner, Promo, or Punch in the Face. I'm going to give you 3 names from your past and some from your present, and you're going to pick which one you would have a promo off in the ring with. Maybe talking real well now. Someone you want to partner with in a tag team match, and someone you want to punch in the face, have a good old fashioned singles match with. You ready?
Right. Yep.
Here are your 3 names: Jacob Fatu, Satoshi Kojima, and Matthew Justice. Partner, promo, punch in the face.
Oh wow, that's good. I want to partner with Matthew Justice. I think that would.
You two might try to off somebody.
I think we would take over the world. We obviously can't kill each other. We've tried, and then I got to punch Fatu in the face, man. I can't back off of it now. Got to keep going. And then promo with Kojima, I think would be hilarious if for all the right reasons.
Just throw bread at him. Throw bread at this man. Did you get some of that bread cake that he had for his birthday?
I did not. I didn't even know that. I missed that, which I guess that means I was busy. So
nobody had this cake.
Yeah, I had no idea that. I remember seeing a cake at the very end of the night, and Kojima was eating it. But I was like, oh, okay. I don't remember seeing it. It may have been there all day, and I just never even noticed it.
It was disguised very well. It looked exactly like a Wonder Bread bag. So they did.
That was in
Atlanta,
job. Correct? Yeah, that was in Atlanta. Yeah. Yeah, I did see it. I do remember seeing it. I didn't know what it was for, actually, so I left it alone.
If it's bread, it's probably Kojima. If it looks
you
like
never
bread,
know. We're at an MLW show. It could have been made to throw in. Somebody may have been going into it for all I so.
We keep asking different members of the MLW roster if they've actually had this cake, seen this cake. The answer is always yeah, I saw it. I didn't try it. We asked Tell Me Extra. She's yeah, I saw it, never got to try it. So I don't know what's going on. Everyone's seen the cake, but no one ate it. Maybe Kojima.
Well, like I said, you can't. There's always so many random things that could be being used in a show. You just kind of just leave it alone.
Well, speaking of shows, MLW presents Eric Bischoff's One Shot. That's Thursday, December 5th at the Melrose Ballroom in New York City. You can get your tickets over at MLWNYC.com. Mads Krule Krügger, here you are. Anything you want to put over before we let you go?
No, guys. Like I said, MLW. I think we've had a really good run of shows this year. We sold out arenas, which is great. People seem to be invested. MLW has such a cult following of fans. It's such an interesting thing to see. I don't see these fans on your everyday indie shows, but I'll see them at the MLW shows, and they travel, and I think that's cool. I think that they're invested in that product, and they're invested in the version of me that I'm presenting at MLW.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Take care of yourself out there. Have fun.
All right.
All right. I'm gonna pop them off. Yeah, we did it. Okay. Every time on the show, it's always either they do it and then I pop them back on, or I do it and then something happens. But either way, we want to thank Krule and MLW for hanging out with us this morning. It's always fun. It's become the running meme or joke on this channel that an MLW star signs and then they get interviewed on In the Weeds the next morning or that afternoon, whatever the case may be for the announcement. So it's always nice to have MLW talent and talk about everything. It's really fun. So yeah, thanks to Krule and thanks to MLW.
Yeah, Krule's a good dude too. He's been, as I mentioned, he was on Spotlight a couple months ago. Jensen did put all that together, and so we talked to him for like an hour on that one. Very gracious with his time. Just a good dude. So it was good to talk to him. Good to catch up with him. And he's doing. Yeah, if you've not seen this Slaughterhouse match from this past weekend, it's free on YouTube. The Weapons of Mass Destruction. It's relatively short, as I think some hardcore matches should be, but especially something like this, as crazy as it was, the things they were doing, they get the gusset plate spot. It's literally sticking in Akira's forehead. Like he mentioned it. There's no real magic to it. We just boom, there it is. Because I don't know how you do any type of magic with that. Just you stick it in the forehead and it was brutal looking. So I know Akira actually had to pull out of Bloodsport because I think this was it. Maybe he did a match after this because this was taped a little while ago. But yeah, if it was to keep up appearances because of that match, then I don't blame it because it looked brutal.
He may have I don't know if that's true. I'm looking at his cage match. That there's one match after that, but we don't know. There's no.
Yeah, he showed off. He actually that might be the match because he did on. If you go to Akira's social media, it's a gnarly. He said it was from a light tube spot, so it would probably be that match that we're not going to mention who he faced.
Well, regardless, it was. There may have been a match.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Shout out to Krule and Akira, especially in that match. Go check it out. It is less than 10 minutes. You can watch it on your lunch break, but maybe don't eat lunch while you're watching.
No, do not do that at all. That
unless you're a glutton for punishment, at which point, I watched Matt Stoney. I know this isn't the spotlight, and I know that competitive eating is a Steven Jensen thing, but I watched Matt Stoney eat like 10 bags of like super hot noodles, like ramen noodles. Like
ramen? Okay, yeah.
But it comes with the packet, like the packet, and it was like super duper spicy. He's like the most anyone's ever eaten was like 3, and he downed 10, and he just looked like hell afterwards. Like his eyes are swollen shut, and he's like freaking out. Yeah, some people are gluttons for punishment. Maybe you want to watch this Krule and Akira match while you're eating your sandwich. I don't know.
Don't tell while you're eating your sandwich. Just spend some time. Put it on 15 minutes before Raw or something. Get in the mood. Get in the mood before Raw to just watch Raw flesh.
I was gonna say it's a hell of a way to watch Raw. Man, it's not as violent as what I watched. Can you imagine? You're like watching this thing and you're like, Raw's just not the same without this blood and guts that I watched.
Well, WarGames is on Saturday. Then maybe there'll be some blood and guts during that. Maybe.
Show it to your family during Thanksgiving weekend. Everyone's always looking for matches to show their, new wrestling fan friends, or what's that one match that you want to show people? No, it's not. Okay, fine. Let's be honest. It's not Krule and Kira. And I know for Jeremy, it's always been the Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville match. But after Saturday, I mean, we might have a new leader in this thing. The main event for Full Gear, don't care who you ask. What? It was AJ. It was Big Boom AJ defeating QT Marshall. That was the main event.
Who took the boom off of the overlay here?
What?
It's just gone.
That's right here.
Boom! Go. It's not on mine.
Oh, it's at the top of the video clips for me.
It got moved to the top. It was got moved to just
the third. Yeah. I think I moved it up, or maybe Coexisting did. Either way, it's still there.
Okay. Well,
don't worry. Don't you worry.
Okay, I'm putting it back where I know where it's supposed to be. Don't move stuff. Quit moving stuff, everybody.
Boom! The main event. You looked at me like I was trying to say the main event wasn't that match.
Yeah, I was wondering what you're doing. No, that was the best match ever. That was the match of the year. I don't care what anybody says. That was the match of the year.
That was it.
If you think some other professional wrestling match this year was better, You're wrong. You're flat out wrong. I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble. Not people don't really care about my opinion, but
Trust me, there are other people on our staff that were getting shit for stupid reasons. So what can you do?
yeah. This match is what professional wrestling needs to be. This match is what professional wrestling is all about. All these guys doing their 50 flips and your tombstones on your steel steps and your hanging drop tombstones and your fighting spirits, all that stuff. Big Boom AJ just threw a good solid punch. He made a comeback after a good heat by QT. He got a good near fall off of the Diamond Cutter. Big Justice got involved. The Rizzler, every time the camera was on him, he's Riz facing, he's rizzing it up. And he hit the power boom, just like he said he was going to do. And he won. It was perfect. He didn't need 1,500 flips and fighting spirits and no cells and hard strikes and all that stuff. This is all you needed. They got the crowd invested on this just with simplicity. And the crowd was all into it. Sometimes wrestling is very simple. You know what I'm saying? Like it can be very simple. People want to overcomplicate it and do too much shit. Knock it off. Keep it simple, stupid.
And if you get the chance to have a 7-foot tall man accompany a tiny child down to the ring holding his hand, you take advantage of the moment. I love that was so memeable. It was fun and the match was good. Like you could tell, we know AJ's a worker. Like we talked about this on the show and it's been well established. AJ used to be an indie wrestler. That he had ties to QT Marshall, to begin with. There was at least there was a story going into the match beyond the double chocolate chunk cookies.
Boom!
Yeah, we didn't do the video this time because I didn't set it up. But the point is, they did a little more than just tell the story of like where the Costco guys and we're living memes. They actually like made a match out of it. And also, there's like this really nice moment. I know people were kind of making fun of the Big Justice getting involved and throwing like the worst spear. The kids 12 years old.
The worst spear. That spear was better than a lot of regular wrestlers. Are you kidding me?
Better than Gage Goldberg at age 12. No, but you know what?
Was great.
The people who were going off are just, they're dorks, whatever. He's a kid. I don't care. The kid had the time of his life, had a giant smile on his face, and they were having fun. But on top of that, like the crowd loved it. It was a fun match and it was a fun experience. And it was a little wholesome to watch that family have their moment. And like QT made that happen. And that's really cool. I think, again, some people are going to want to say, oh, QT's a big loser. It's like, well, yeah, he lost the match, but like he put something together that was special and fun. And I praised it from the get-go because like I told everyone was they built this over social media and it didn't take up any extra time because they knew where their bread was buttered here. It made sense. And then they put it on Dynamite. They did the thing. They got a huge.
They had a 60-second spot on Dynamite.
Exactly. And at the time, I was a little apprehensive, and we talked about it on Friday. And I was like, no, you know what? Forget it. It worked, and it did well for their social views. People were watching, and the match itself was on the free preview show, and it was a good, solid match. You could tell they cared, and I got to put over the fact that they gave a shit, and they did really well. And I agree with Henry in the chat. Tall Paul and the Rizzler should win the tag titles now. Who are the AEW World Tag Titles? Private Party? Don't need it. Just have Tall Paul and the Rizzler. Just give it to him. I'm sure Private Party would give it up. They love the Rizzler. They love the Costco guys.
Every time the Rizzler understood the assignment. Every time the camera was on that kid, he's like, got a Riz face. Got a Riz. Like
they did like a backstager. They asked him like, what were your opinions on something? Yeah. He just like you do this to the camera just to do this stupid thing. God bless. He hits his spot, man. He hits his mark.
He has one job and he knows how to do it. Bless him. The match was great. Here's some free promotion for you, TK. I'm watching the pre-show, I'm covering the show and everything. One of the kids comes in. One of the 500 kids comes in. And it not really paying attention to what's going on. It's like, hey, do you know the Costco guys? Do you know the Rizzler? And he's like, yeah. And then I was like, they're wrestling right now. Like, what? Huh? I was like, see, there's Big Boom AJ right there. The Rizzler's ringside. He starts messaging all of his friends. He's like, God, the Costco guys and the Rizzler are wrestling. And like, he's sending them the link. I was like, yeah, it's free on YouTube. He's sending them the link to Full Gear. This is a big deal. Like, they didn't know who QT Marshall was. They weren't going to order the pay-per-view or whatever. But he's sending the link to all his friends. Like, you got to watch the Costco guys and the Rizzler on AEW YouTube right now for free.
They should have put AJ in the C2 after that.
He should have been. He's undefeated. I did love that somebody asked him, like, hey, what do you think about facing John Moxley? He's like, I don't know about all that. But...
No, thank you. Oh, it was good stuff. And you know what? The fact that he showed up for the media scrum, regardless of how you feel about the scrums in general, it's nice that he didn't just come in and do the spot and then like leave the venue and that's it. Like, he stuck around. He did this post show. He cares. It was nice.
He did all the media. You know, he's on Fox Business with Tony. He was on Tonight Show. They weren't getting those spots otherwise. He did a ton of media. He did a ton of promotion. Even if he wasn't doing promotion like that way, he was doing promotion just on social media. He was cutting promos in the middle of Times Square, cutting a promo on QT Marshall. Like, the man gets it. He flat out gets it. Get more people need to take a lesson from this. I know Tony and people who are like, oh, what can you learn from this? And Tony's like, well, I learned promotion, entrepreneurship from him. People are like, well, you didn't know this already? It's a different level of promotion and entrepreneurship that, yeah, maybe Tony didn't quite understand and get. Certainly a lot of wrestlers don't understand and get it. That Dynamite promo, I can't praise it enough. He had 60 seconds. And in that 60 seconds, him and Renee and Big Justice, they told you everything you needed to know. In 60 seconds, Renee said, Full Gear. Big Boom AJ said, this started when you knocked over the double chunk chocolate cookies. Like, all right, that's how this started. Because of that. He said he's going to power boom them. Prudential Center. Big Justice is like, I'm bringing my best friend, the Rizzler. He tells you who his best friend is. He tells you who the Rizzler is. He's going to be the timekeeper. 60 seconds. Got it all done. They're
and
good,
that's
man.
They are good. That is something that I hope wrestlers aspire to, that I hope performers aspire to. It's hitting your marks and being impactful in the time that you're given. So again, I gotta give him credit. It was so good stuff. Yeah, that was definitely one of the top moments of the night. And I say somewhat jokingly, like, this was the main event. For a lot of people, it was. They came in, they got their, yeah, there you go. They got their moment. They had fun.
I didn't care about the rest of the show after this. Then, like, the pay-per-view starts. Like, this sucks.
Yeah, and the rest of it happened. Andrew Zarian's unavailable to join us. I already asked. Don't worry, chat. I've already got you. I already got my rejection for the hour. Okay, can only have one guest every hour. That's the plan. The rest of the show, listen, peaks and valleys. There were moments on the show that were really good, and there were moments
you hated this show, didn't you?
I watched it over 2 nights. I got to the Takeshita Ricochet match, and I tapped out. Be honest, I'll be transparent. I was tired. I know these shows go for X amount of time, and I just decided that I would watch the rest the next day. I don't have to cover it live. When it's a Sunday night pay-per-view, it's a little different for me because we have this show on the Monday morning. But no, when it's a Saturday, I'm like, I can hang out and watch it tonight. So I did. I watched it Sunday night, watched the last 3 matches. Again, points I loved, points I didn't. Overall, listen, it was... I know some people talk about it was too long, and that's fair. I also just go back to, they're charging $50 a head. The whole feeling is, if we're going to charge $50, we got to give them as much as we possibly can in the 4 hours. And Will Washington has said this, and it's backed up every time. Like, look at the amount of time that the show goes. The show goes 3:58, 3:59 every time, except for one time when there was basketball playoffs. Like, that's the only time they've ever extended it. Tony's a stickler for tradition. He keeps things to the same level. Like the C2 starting on Thanksgiving Eve, like that. It did it last year. We're doing it again this year. It's what he does. He sticks to his traditions. And I get it. He's a creature of habit. So the pay-per-views are going to be that long. That has been the benefit to people like me who can just turn it off and pick it up later. I ordered it on Triller. I can watch it later. So I did. I watched it later. Some of the matches were fine. Some of the matches were, it was fine. It was okay. I didn't love everything, but that's kind of what wrestling's all about. Why did I pick CM Punk for the excuse me, for the thumbnail this morning? I think there's more story conversation in what happened on Friday Night SmackDown than there, and I'm talking to the entirety of SmackDown, than there is coming out of Full Gear. And that's not a knock at AEW. That's just WWE has a big event coming up next week, or this Saturday, that we're going to be talking about throughout the week. Whereas Full Gear just ended, and the big question is, like, is Darby Allin okay after crashing a car into? There are a few things. There are a few things coming out of it. I'm being a little jokey, but certain things I loved, and like I said, certain things I didn't. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about the show. What'd you love? And then we can bury the rest of it.
I loved AJ versus QT Marshall. That's what I enjoyed. I say this after every AEW show. I don't mind that it's 4 hours. I truly don't. People think that, like, I hate wrestling because I say I hate wrestling, and they're like, oh, all these people just complain that the show is too long. Like, I don't care that it's 4 hours. I just wanted to start earlier. That's it. I just want the show to start at 7. The main show. I want that to start at 7. And then it's over by 11. And then the press conference, which they actually had this time because there wasn't enough murder, sadly. Like, that thing was over by 2. It was like, oh, it's such a long night. If it's over by 1, it's a little bit more palpable. Because I'm used to UFC shows where those shows don't end until 1. So it's like, all right, fine. I can deal with 1. It's not that big of a deal. That extra hour kind of sucks. So I'd like the shows to start at 7. That's my only change. Keep it 4 hours. All for keeping it 4 hours. Start the show at 7. That's it. As far as the show, it was a good show. It wasn't a blowaway show. It felt a lot like the television leading up to it. Main show, Matthew. Main show does not start at 7. It starts at 8. Unless you're Central Time Zone or whatever. I'm talking about the East Coast. That's where they promote and everything. So East Coast. I want that at 7. It was a good show. Nothing super spectacular. There were some good matches. Ospreay and Fletcher was good. I was ready to dislike the tombstone on the steps and then the hanging pile driver and then the kick out. I'm like, can we, like, that's probably the finish there. And then it kept going, but I like the way it ended still. And I like the brain buster. I like the way Ospreay sold it. What I don't like is that Ospreay is now just in the C2. And it's like, oh, we're just kind of erasing just the damage that Kyle Fletcher did to him. And now Ospreay's just going to have more cool matches in the C2. I had jokingly said this, but it's really not a joke. AEW should promote their wrestlers as superhuman more. Like, these guys get up from everything. They should really promote them as superhuman. You want these dudes who are out 8 months because they get a pile driver? Oh, Jade Cargill, she fell on top of a car. She's out for months. Darby Allin just crashed a car. He's fine. Promote these people as superhuman. Honestly. None of this, Darby Allin doesn't like the term superstar because it makes it feel bigger than. It's like, we're just all normal people. You're not normal, Darby Allin.
No, especially him.
You want to climb Mount Everest. You want to backflip tricycles. You get hit by a bus. You are not normal. I think they should do a better job of just promoting these guys. Is like, yeah, these guys are kind of superhuman a little bit. Like, they get up from just insane stuff and they keep going. Not everybody can do this. Honestly, I think they should do that. Instead of we're the best wrestlers. Like, nah, these dudes are superhuman. Go watch that other stuff. You want to see these dudes be laid out after a punch. Weaklings. Weak-ass WWE superstars.
Damn. After every single signing, they should bring their new wrestlers to the ring and be like, and here's your shot of adamantium. And now you go to work. Like, where are the claws? Be like, don't ask about the claws. That was only one guy. And then they just go back to work. We're the best, don't die. But like, there's a point to what you're saying. Wrestling in general is what you want it to be. It's what the promotion wants to be presented as. Lucha Underground was a place where people didn't die unless you actually killed. TNA is the same way. Nobody dies in TNA. They just get sent to the undead realm and they never come back. Or they do because they fought their way out. There are certain tropes in wrestling that are promotional specific. And like, here's a good example. When Ricochet was leaving WWE, they just kind of took him out and injured him, and they left it open-ended because who knows what's going to happen. They wanted him back, but he also had plans to go to AEW, and who knows at the end of his first contract if he resigns or goes back to WWE. You kept things open again so that they didn't off him. You only off people when you want to off them real good. But AEW doesn't do that. They can do superhuman. The hard part is telling the story when they actually do get injured, getting them off the show, because certain injuries are just freak injuries. Like, Adam Cole at Grand Slam, that was a freak injury. He jumped off the stage to go to meet MJF at the mat, and he injured himself. He hurt his foot off of that. So it's tough. But I see what you're saying. You get someone like Will Ospreay who gets the shit beat out of him for a solid 20 minutes. And he still comes back and wins the match. And then he goes into the C2 and he's not any worse for wear. There's a certain amount of I hope he sells the effects of the Fletcher match going into the C2 and then builds off that.
He's going to have KT tape on.
Oh, of course. KT tape, it now runs wrestling. Wrestling is partially owned by Kinesio tape.
Yeah, he's gonna have the tape on. It'll be okay. I thought that match was really good. Otherwise, there was just stuff.
In some ways, felt like an extended Dynamite in some ways.
And none of it was too terrible. But then there was other stuff that just wasn't all that great. Jon Moxley and Orange Cassidy was a good match. It was a good match. And then the ending, I liked the ending. It was absurd, but I thought it was absurd in a good way. Because now Jon Moxley is the hunted. Here comes Hangman Page. Here comes Jay White. Here comes Christian Cage. Darby's crashing cars. Jon Moxley wanted people to step up and take shots at him. Well, he's got a lot of people on his ass now. So I thought that was good. Now, is it the right people is going to be the question, because Christian doesn't wrestle a ton, but he's got the contract. But that's a heel kind of contract move. Christian's full-blown heel. You'd like to see some real top-tier baby faces step up. And I guess that's Jay White. But I like Jay White. Look, he beat Hangman. That was a big win for Jay White. But is he like that? Does he scream super, not supernatural, but does he scream clean cut baby face? He's still kind of a little bit of a dick. I know the end game, or at least I surmise the end game is Darby Allin winning. I get that. I still wish other baby faces would step up a little bit. A guy like Daniel Garcia. Guys like Private Party. I know they've won titles now, but that shouldn't preclude them from stepping up here in this spot.
The finish to the main event was, I think someone said, overstuffed. Zeno Hour did. Speaking of overstuffed, by the way, I'm a little late to this because we had our interview at the top. Hey, leave a thumbs up on the video if you haven't already. 45 minutes into this thing, so clearly we have our priorities straight. Get those fireworks going. Come on, fireworks. Where are you on a Monday morning?
Don't wanna work.
No, it's just gloomy outside, so the fireworks are forget this. No fireworks for us. Oh, there they are. Fireworks are out. Leave a thumbs up on the video. And of course, you can subscribe to us here on Fightful Overbooked, youtube.com/Fightful Overbooked. And you can donate a super chat. Any amount, get your question or statement read on the air. We always appreciate that. It supports us here on the channel. We could use that. The main event. Yeah, there was a lot going on. It was overstuffed, just like my plug just now. So I was a little I didn't know how to feel.
Just say you hated it.
The thing is, I can't tell you I hated it, but I can tell you that I didn't love it. I didn't sit here being that was the finish it should have been. Again, you had Orange Cassidy as the first challenger in this story of, Moxley is rebuilding AEW in his way, or he's trying to push other people to take things more seriously or just be a better wrestler or be a better whatever he's doing. And Orange Cassidy, we knew that this was going to be we knew that Orange Cassidy wasn't going to win, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. They had a great match out of that. I gotta say there was the one part where Moxley tosses Cassidy into the steps, and Cassidy just goes full bore head first and leaves a blood spatter on the steel steps. That was gnarly. I was looking at the screen like in disbelief at that point because I thought it was almost too much for me, and I can watch some shit. But anyway, I think I'll watch Krule and Akira while I'm eating my lunch this afternoon. So that was something that I wanted to point out. But again, we knew that Orange Cassidy wasn't going to win, but someone comes out it's trying to set up who's next, or at least who's in line, or at least who's invested in what Moxley's doing or trying to rebut it. And Christian Cage, it was kind of just, he's there. He's got the contract, but at least they're trying to make the Christian Cage thing fall into something with Adam Page. So it's not completely devoid of sentiment or reason. It just everything felt a little crammed in. It was in NXT, they do the parade of challengers where after a champion retains, they come out, cut a promo, and then one by one, someone comes out and then they make it a fatal 5-way. That's almost how it felt, without making it a fatal 5-way. It felt like a lot happened. And if it's a cliffhanger for Dynamite, which kind of is, because Darby comes out and, crashes the car and then hits the skateboard and then he's bleeding and everyone doesn't know if he's okay and so on and so forth. There were enough questions left over that I actually do praise that I want to watch Dynamite and hope that they follow up on it in a way that explains certain elements of what happened at the main event. Again, when it happened, didn't love it, but thinking back at the fact that you're going to have a lot more questions than answers and therefore you want to watch the TV, that's a big deal. That's something you'll want.
Well, Darby's just in the C2, so he's just gonna wrestle,
Well, that's just what he does.
It's where the best wrestle. Yeah.
Right.
So Darby's just in the C2. That's fine. Like Hangman and Moxley is an easy circle back because their feud is one of the better feuds in AEW history. They've missed the Hangman being the top babyface. He's not babyface anymore. He thinks he's the babyface, and maybe that makes him a babyface, but he's not. But they've missed Hangman being that top tier, clean cut, everybody get behind babyface. Not necessarily through their own fault, because they tried and then the crowd decided they were going to cheer threatening babies. So that's not really AEW's fault to an extent. And then Hangman went too far. And look, the Hangman story is good, but he's not the babyface right now. Again, Jay White, is he that guy? I don't know. He's still kind of a dick. Christian's definitely not that guy. He's still, killing, making fun of dead dads and stuff.
Does it make sense to ditch Juice Robinson to cement a babyface turn for Jay White?
No, because people like Juice.
I get that. That's why I'm asking. You'd have to change the presentation in certain ways.
I think they think that these guys are faces right now because they're feuding with Hangman.
I mean,
and Juice gets a deep reaction.
In certain ways, they are baby faces. It's just they don't do white meat baby face. Someone even said that in the chat. Like, they don't do white meat baby faces so well in AEW these days. Darby could be the next one. Darby's moral compass points to white meat baby face. He does things that are extreme, but he does it with passion. And he does it with drive, and he does it in a way that you want to get behind him. Sometimes you want to be like, you idiot, because he's doing stupid shit with his body. But at the end of the day, you're someone who's like, you're cheering for him because they like him. So that's probably the closest to a white meat babyface that you can have in AEW right now. Whereas the rest are kind of painted gray, but not too far off the babyface spectrum. Jay is the latest edition of like, he is a babyface, but he's still kind of a dick.
Well, Darby and Orange Cassidy are their top baby faces.
Well, but the problem is now Orange Cassidy wears all black, so that denotes he's gotten a little darker over time.
Yes, so. But yeah, Darby is the guy as the top baby face, and he'll probably be the guy to dethrone Jon Moxley. Everyone else, they're doing other things. Will Ospreay is that guy, but he's too busy in the doing Don Callis family stuff. This is where I've talked about it for months now of like, I wish other people in AEW would have some sense of urgency when it came to the Moxley storyline, and they just didn't, and they're not going to, and fine. They're just doing their own thing at this point. Again, I did like that at least at the end of this, we had some people step up to Moxley and be like, yeah, I want this title. Now, again, you can argue that it was maybe the wrong people. Why was Hangman out there? I know Hangman just likes to cause chaos. And maybe that's the explanation. He just likes to cause chaos.
It seems like the impetus was, I'm going to help Christian win because Christian's going to give me the first shot.
But he was out there first. He didn't know Christian was going to come out unless he did know, but that wasn't explained. But that's the thing we don't know. Yeah, we don't know that until they explain it or don't. He came out there and he hit Wheeler Yuta with it. Maybe he just wants the title because he wants the title, and like that's understandable. He's also lost 2 matches to Jay White, which I don't think that was the right call. I like Jay White. I think Jay White is rebounded well from last year. I don't know about Hangman dropping 2 after coming off that hot swerve feud. Felt like you maybe missed the boat a little bit with Hangman, but that honestly sometimes feels like the story of Hangman's AEW career.
But he always ends up getting himself back to that point. That's kind of
he does because he's really good and people are invested in him. But at some point, like you got to also win some matches.
Yeah, that's fair. I know Sean's made the reference before about Macho Man, right? Lose him in the ring, win him in the ring. And using that specifically with Hangman and his presentation, where if he loses a match, he can still come back and get over with the crowd because he's day one. He is someone that everyone gets behind, or like there's a reaction there, regardless if he's a babyface or a heel. So for him, I'm a little more lenient, but I agree that the more that he wins, obviously, the more opportunity there is to put him over as a bigger babyface or as a bigger character going for a world title. He's
not a babyface right now.
I didn't mean that. I meant a character is what I meant. I was reading babyface in a super chat. So Tenruza sent one saying Fletcher Ospreay, Hangman and Jay White, Swerve and Bobby, Mina Mariah, Mercedes and Statlander were all great. Wanted Omega back. There wasn't that big pop all night. So working our way backwards, I wasn't expecting Kenny Omega personally. That big pop moment again to me was going to be the Darby Allin appearance, whatever that was. It was, I guess the hope there was maybe that the car crash scene would be big enough that people reacted, and they did, but it wasn't in the house. I didn't expect Tony Storm to come back. You and I will talk about that in a minute, but again, it's laid out exactly what I said would basically have happened. Mercedes and Statlander was a fantastic match. They did a good job, and the matches were, again, these matches were fine. Swerve and Bobby.
Mercedes and Statlander was better than fine. That was a really great match. I loved the counters and everything. Like when Mercedes has a strong base to work with like that, and she can show off more of her, like she does a lot of lucha training, and obviously her influences are Eddie Guerrero. She's made no secret about that. So when she can like really show that off, like Mercedes, I don't necessarily think she needed this performance, but I understand why people think she needed this performance based on her match quality in AEW so far. Mercedes is at her best when she's in the ring. She's had some disappointing matches in the ring, but she's at her best when she's in the ring. Statlander, I don't know if she's underrated, whatever you want to call her. Statlander is one of the best workers they have. The hilarious thing about this whole thing to me is what we talked about on Friday. Mercedes is just right. Camille's useless. She's absolutely useless. She's like, stay your useless ass in the back before you screw things up for me. And that's what Camille did. She stayed in the back, and what happened? Mercedes won. It rolled. The story is Mercedes is right. Camille is useless. I know you keep saying, and you might end up being correct. You keep saying, oh, they're building towards Camille and the turn, and Camille's going to be the one to dethrone her. Fine. Maybe that's what they are building towards. It sucks if that's what they are building towards. There's no sympathy on Camille. Absolutely none. I don't feel bad for her. I feel bad for Mercedes that she's putting up with this useless person. She should drop her She should have dropped her last week. She should have dropped her on Saturday. She should drop her on Wednesday. She should come out on Wednesday and be like, you know what, Camille? You keep fucking up. Let a woman say fuck. You keep fucking up. You couldn't kill Chris Statlander with vehicular homicide, which is a common theme now in AEW. You couldn't take out Chris Statlander one-on-one. You broke your arm. You got thrown through a wall like a bitch. Everyone's got to say bitch. And then I told you to stay your ass in the back on Saturday so I could win and show how great I am. And that's exactly what I did. I don't need you. Go away. Kick rocks. Go make your movies with June Byer or whatever that movie is you're doing. Go study geology or whatever the hell you don't believe in. Get out of here. Brick house. Go build your own house. Peace.
Yeah, and then she's going to come back and people are going to cheer her, and then she's going to win the TBS title. Anyway, we'll see where that goes. I do agree with you. She is largely useless, but she's going to get bullied until she turns on Mercedes and then wins, then that's it. Do you think they do it at World's End? They do Mercedes and Camille, and then Mercedes just goes to Japan for an extended period of time because AEW will just book her a one-way ticket so she can hang out. Yeah, go to Wrestle Dynasty and then hang out for a little while over there. Go have your matches in Stardom. Have some fun. You don't want to give an answer to that?
What? I said what I needed to say.
I know, but I said, do you think maybe that they do the match in December at World's End, and then
I do not care about a Mercedes and Camille match. I don't care.
It's inevitable, though.
Sure, I don't care about it. Camille's useless. She's been treated useless on television, and that's how I view her.
Mina and Mariah had their champagne celebration. It's exactly what you and I talked about. There's going to be no Toni Storm. I don't want Toni Storm back in the fold this early. I'd rather they do the one-on-one match with Mina and Mariah. Looks like we'll get that as late as World's End. I mean, they've got a month to build it. I'd rather they do it at the pay-per-view and not just on a Dynamite coming up. So, yeah, bring back Toni at the January 1st show if they want to, or do it, again, if you want to do a tag match at Wrestling Dynasty, I would like that very much. Do Mina and Toni versus Mariah, and I don't know who. I still can't put my finger on who it is. Someone from Stardom, someone who would come in and do that, or just someone that Mariah has experience with in the past. That's where I would go if they want to do a tag match, and then Toni Mariah at Grand Slam. One of the big things you and I sat here and talked about for so long was the All-In build. It was doing so well till those extra 2 weeks where they brought Toni back really quickly and did pull-apart brawls just to get them on the screen going into All-In. Learn from that. Don't rush it. It looks like they didn't. I would rather they focus on Marina and Maya for a little while. Mina and Mariah. Good Lord, I'm going to get it right eventually. Commentary is going to slip too. Don't let me fool you. And just do the match at World's End, and it'll be a good match. And those two, listen, man, kicking a bottle with an open toe shoe is some boss level shit right there from Mina Shirakawa. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, it was fine. Again, like, it was a breather. I completely understand the discourse, or even just the pushback that there should be more women's matches on your show. This should have been even a Dynamite segment, and a hot segment at that. But I mean, at the same time, something has to breathe, and I'm glad they picked something to let the show breathe. So that's really all I have to add to that. I'd love more women's matches on the show. This was just something they put on for a moment, which I don't hate.
Yeah, it was a good segment, and it set up the potential match between those two. It didn't need Toni Storm. Toni Storm can stay off for a little while, but she'll still return. Don't worry. Toni Storm's one of the great champions we've ever had in AEW, and we're excited to bring her back in AEW, even though she said she's retired.
She did retire. That's right. Don't forget. Whole article. And then Fletcher and Ospreay. I know a lot of people really, really love that match. It was a really good match, really fun match. I think you kind of gave your points about Ospreay's, he comes back and he's unscathed, even though he's gone through the ringer. But Fletcher looked good. He gets over in this match and hopefully continues to have his build as a single star. What about Dunkzilla? What about Mark Davis? He's still kind of caught in the middle of this. Does he?
Is he?
I don't know. Does he join Fletcher and the Don Callis family, and does he turn on Will Ospreay as soon as he can, or what? Because Ospreay is now part of the C2, so basically he can't do anything, at least in the ring for the next few weeks, because he can't be out there during C2 matches or he gets fired. That's always been the rule. So does he do something backstage? Like, how do you? That was the whole thing. Tony said, if you get involved, you get fired. That was the first one.
Uh-oh.
The first C2, it was if anyone gets involved, you get fired. It was a whole ass thing. And I remember
Tony's a little bit more lax now. He's letting people just take over the show.
Homicide. That's true. He doesn't run the show. The vehicular homicide attempts, plastic bags, isopropyl alcohol in your face after you've been bleeding. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So maybe you're right. But either way, like, how do you move this story forward, assuming there is some movement to do between now and the end of the year? Or do you just let it kind of hang?
I'm going to be honest and say my expectations are very low, and I don't expect much to come out of this Mark Davis stuff with Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay being in the C2. Maybe they do some backstage thing. Maybe Mark Davis does something on Rampage or whatever. These guys are in the C2. They're going to just have matches, and they're going to be good matches, and there's no interference or anything in them. I don't think we're going to get a ton of movement in the Mark Davis story outside of just some backstage stuff.
Do you think Fletcher and Ospreay go as far as to meet each other in a final? Because they're on opposite sides, aren't they? One's blue, one's gold.
In looking at the field,
yeah,
I think that it's tough because, I think Fletcher probably should be in the finals. I don't know who he faces. Like, do you do Fletcher and Okada in the league finals, or Fletcher and Garcia? Then Okada's taken some losses. It feels like it might be Garcia and Okada. I do question Daniel Garcia being the TNT champion and then going immediately into this where he's probably going to take at least one loss. Like, why don't you just do a story with the TNT title? I know Daniel Garcia is, he at the press conference, he's like, the last guy treated it like a prop, and now, like, I'm going to treat it like a championship. And then he goes on, and he's going to now contend for another championship and not defend this championship for at least a month. So, little disconnect there. I don't love Daniel Garcia in this. As much as I love Daniel Garcia as a wrestler, and I think he's going to have great matches, I don't love him being the TNT champion and being in this field. It feels like Fletcher out of the Blue League. And if Darby's the next guy, like, I wouldn't have him taking a ton of losses, but he can't win the Continental title, and then I guess he can, and then go after the world title. Like, that doesn't scream a ton of sense either. Fletcher and Ospreay make sense.
I like the idea of Daniel Garcia beating Okada for the Continental Championship, and then they merge the TNT title and the Continental title, and it becomes the TNTL title, like this.
But then it gets split again, like, then that's what it did with Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston became Triple Crown champion, had all three belts, and then it was just like, oh, anyway, he can just defend these titles not as one and just do whatever he wants and defend them singular.
Remember when Eddie misspoke and said he was going to defend the titles throughout the entire tournament?
Well,
that's a great year. That was.
I mean, technically he did. It was just kind of weird,
It was. Yeah, I don't know what you can do with this. You can do Ospreay and Fletcher in the final. Okada, listen, everyone in the Elite has dropped their titles. So Okada's the last man standing from the Elite with the title. They all dropped it. He could be next, and then he goes away and he comes back with the Bucks whenever that happens. Bucks and maybe, that's the big moment is the Bucks the Okada and Kenny kind of renewal, whether that's they see each other or they make good or whatever it is. And Okada's already dropped the Continental Championship by then. So I would I'd probably have Okada maybe, shockingly drop it and do Ospreay and Fletcher. And does Fletcher win the Continental Championship out of this?
I'd be fine with that. The Continental title needs something. because it doesn't feel like it's really existed this year. Like once Okada got it, he defended it a handful of times, but it doesn't feel that prestigious. I don't feel like this is some prestigious title or some prestigious. I know it's only been 1 year, but they're still hyping it as like, oh, this is such a grueling and prestigious tournament. It didn't feel that way because I don't think they made the Continental title feel prestigious throughout the year. I think Eddie tried and then he lost it. And then Okada just wrestled. He defended this title, what, like 5 times? If that? He doesn't feel like he defended it a lot. He lost to Danielson. I know that was the, first 20 minutes are just the Continental title. But he lost to Danielson. He went to a draw against Claudio that was never followed up on. He defended a Battle of the Belts, which feels like that's what tells you where the totem pole is if you're defending it at Battle of the Belts. It doesn't feel like it's this prestigious championship. The whole build for every single Okada match was, yeah, Okada's turned into a meme. I want the New Japan G1 Okada when we step in the ring. It was literally the build for 2 separate matches of Okada sucks now. I want the Okada that doesn't suck when we step in the ring. Not great.
And then they're putting Okada over as like super duper big star going into the Continental Classic. Like they're doing the whole like, he's better than Ricky Dozan. He's the most amazing wrestler you've ever seen. His name is Kazuchika Okada, and you can watch him in the C2 coming live to the AEW Dynamite. That's my impression of the video that they did for the package for Okada. Seriously, did somebody tell Excalibur that his dog died just before that? Like, what are we doing here? It was just poorly mixed. We talked about it. It was just poorly mixed. Yeah, I'm curious. The Continental Classic this year is okay. I really was not a fan of dropping the contestants, the competitors at 10:30 p.m. on a Sunday. That was just like everyone all day was just like, when is this thing dropping? When's this thing dropping? And I get it. People are going to be football on. Okay, fine. I just sat there and I was like, it almost seems like you just don't care at that point. And again, I'm not saying they don't. It's just dropping something at 10:30 on a Sunday is like, what are we doing? Like, who's this for? What is the plan? Was there a plan? And that's perception to me. It just felt like they did it and that was it.
That was hilarious. Yeah, because everyone's like, oh, when's it going to happen? And then 8 o'clock, Tony's like, it's going to happen at 10:30. He's like, all right. Thanks, Tony. That ruled.
I mean, why would you? I don't understand the feeling. I love that they dropped it at 10:30. Why do you love it? I'm not trying to like call you out in a shitty way. I'm just why did you love that and not like at a reasonable time, like a noon hour where you can find it later on in the day? Because again, it's not like this is a television show. It's just there. It was strange. The medical reports came after the show. Don't tell me he waited for the medical reports. He was medical ready after the show. Stop it. Tenriza says excited for the Cope return to cost Christian. Curious about what happens when Adam Copeland comes back. Does he cost Christian or does he join Christian? Does he do both?
Should help Christian.
They should. Do you think they'll bring back the 5-second pose?
Sure.
For the benefit of those with flash photography, just hit all the big moments. Just hit all the E&C stuff. Bring in Rhino for a night. Do the whole thing. Call Kurt Angle. Do a thing. Just bring it all back. Ken Bruno says he was there live. The big pop didn't happen with Darby when he crashed the car because folks were already running for the exits. Biggest pop of the night was genuinely AJ, Big Justice, and Rizzler. That last comment does not surprise me at all. And you heard it as well. It was early in the night. It was a big moment. People were excited. Like, that doesn't surprise me. I just think, like, in the grand scheme of like the AEW portion of the evening, that wasn't these guys are, the outsiders. These guys, I think they thought that Darby was going to be their big moment for the end of the show. And I guess not. The Rizzler.
That was the best part of the show. I've already said
that. Anything else you want to add about the Full Gear before we move on?
It was a fine show. It probably, I don't know if it could have been better. was like the wrestling was good. Ricochet Takeshita was underwhelming. That probably should have been better. I don't think it was as bad as people like are kind of making it out to be. I also don't think it was great, and I had higher hopes for Ricochet in this spot. I think some of the issues with this card were everyone worked hard. That's not an issue. Everyone worked hard, which is good. The crowd investment didn't always seem there. They got there. They got there by the end in a lot of matches. Like the crowd was biting on stuff by the end of a lot of matches. But they really had to work to get it, which isn't necessarily bad on the wrestlers' parts. It shows that they worked and they did get it. But it does show that the investment was not there leading into a lot of these matches. And usually with a lot of these AEW cards, the investment's there from jump. And it didn't feel like it was with this. It felt like, okay, this is going to be a good match. Cool, let's go. And then it's like, and then they just kind of sat silently. And then they built. And by the end, they got there with certain things. Not everything hit, mind you, but they got there with certain things. But yeah, the investment seemed a little lacking from the crowd for some of these matches. Maybe Ken Bruno can tell me if I'm wrong. Like he was there, so maybe he can say that the crowd was into stuff. But from television, crowd felt a little silent for some stuff until the workers worked and got them into it, which that's part of their job.
Yep. And again, this is the reason why the 5-hour show can be a little much. But again, we know exactly why. So the shows are long because they have a financial investment from you. They want to make sure that your $50 goes far. If you're paying the full amount, that's fine. So yeah, it's tough to keep an audience engaged for the entire time. But again, the workers work, they get people involved, and that's good. I like it. Ken Bruno said you're right. People didn't really get into things until they can tell they were on the way to the finish. Interesting. Yeah. We got Chi-Town Spurs sent a super chat saying, one thing I'd like AEW to learn from Full Gear is structuring of the show. A lot of one-on-ones, but no stipulations, and the 4-way tag went first. You need to diversify. My big thing is I wish the coaches would talk to each other, because the theme of the night became working a body part. And every match was working over some sort of body parts. And that after a while gets a little stale to me. I like a little bit of extra, just a little differentiation from match to match. So that was my big one. But yeah, a lot of one-on-one bouts, a lot of title matches. That's kind of, what you expect too.
I would have flipped Jay White and Hangman and Takeshita and Ricochet. I would have structured Takeshita and Ricochet different. Probably like cut some time off of that. That was, according to Cage Match, 19 minutes, 12 seconds. It felt every bit of 19 minutes and 12 seconds. It did not fly by. Like Fletcher and Ospreay was 24 minutes. It did not feel 24 minutes. Like that kind of flew by. But I guess if you do that, then Ospreay and Fletcher is following Takeshita and Ricochet. And if you lay out the match differently, I probably would have reordered the matches a little bit. I'm fine with like so many one-on-one matches. I prefer one-on-one matches. But yeah, you probably could have rearranged the card a little bit. My issue with Mercedes and Statlander and Jay White and Hangman, even though they were two of my favorite matches of the night, they were two of the best matches of the night, was the crowd didn't feel super there for Jay White and Hangman coming off of Mercedes and Statlander, at least immediately. And I think part of the problem was they both did leg work in the match. We just saw Statlander's leg get worked over, and hey, here's Hangman, and then Jay White's leg are getting worked over, leg and ankle. So it was very similar structured. And I made this point on the Blue Sky, is there was a lot of counters in Mercedes and Statlander. And it made for a great match with all those counters. And Jay White's strength is counter wrestling. So you just kind of followed, here's a legwork match with a lot of counters, followed by a legwork match with a lot of counters. It's like, probably could have spaced those out a little bit. So yeah, I probably would have rearranged the card a little. You know what match was bad? And I thought it was going to be better. I don't even need to talk about, but like MJF and Roderick Strong.
I mean, what do you expect?
I need MJF. I need I need MJF to take action. I need him to take action. I'm tired of him just word traumatizing. Oh, I'm out shooting movies like your mom shot your dad. It's like, I saw a man break into another man's house and threaten his baby. I saw a man burn down his childhood home. That's real preying on some trauma. You saying all these things? No. You know what MJF should have done? He shouldn't have shown up and done this match. He should have showed up to Roddy's house. Or showed up to the old trailer park or whatever. Just shot it up. You want to talk about all the shooting and stuff? Actually put some action behind this. I'm not condoning gun violence. But this is what needs to happen. MJF's got to stop with the verbal traumatizing of everything. Not when people are burning down childhood homes and they're putting action behind this trauma. Also, MJF calling it a dog shit company. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
I've given my thoughts for the last year about Maxwell and his promos and the way he chooses to do his gimmick. Y'all know how I feel. You can watch a show from a year ago where we talked ad nauseum. I think it was early October when the quarters came out. We talked about that. So
I don't think it is violent enough, Delayed Grats. I don't think they're going too far. I don't think they're going far enough. I want more violence. If I see a man burning down another man's house, his childhood home, then you saying, oh, your dad shoots your mom. Oh, I was getting a blowjob when this car crash happened. Oh, your neck hurts. I'm going to kill you in front of your family. And so your daughter, whatever MJF did to Bryan Danielson. I don't know. MJF says a lot of stuff. Can't keep track of all of it. Your mom's a drug addict. Your dad's a drug addict. Go further.
yeah, be the one to kill the family, damn it.
Yeah.
Don't just talk about it, do it.
That's right.
Coward ass mother. Will Chisholm sent a super chat saying MJF is trying to do Hollywood Rock promo, but it won't work for him.
That's not Hollywood Rock at all.
Hollywood Rock never threatened people's lives.
No, there was some charm to Hollywood Rock. This is just...
Maybe if MJF had a guitar. Could you imagine the MJF Rock concert? Oh, he sings the Hanukkah song because it's Adam Sandler. Where was Adam Sandler on Saturday? Damn it. 10 Ruza sends a super chat. Whoever's in charge of booking endings in these AEW pay-per-views really needs to stop. Really slow endings that are awkward aren't it. Need to go out big. I think they thought they were going out big with this finish. It's the hard thing about booking the Moxley story is that it's still, for all the times it's stumbled, it's still in its infancy. He'd won the title at Wrestle Dream. And the story's been slow. It's who's going to step up. This was the first person to step up on a title defense level at a pay-per-view. Like Orange Cassidy was the first guy up. And then they had to figure out what's the next logical big step. And it's Darby. And they had Darby do the most extreme thing out of everyone that got involved. So I see that they thought that this was going to be a big ending. It just didn't necessarily resonate with everyone. And, like Ken said, he was there live and people had already walked out. So at that moment, you're kind of stuck because people didn't realize that this was going to happen. And they could have had that happen in house. Darby coming out, not Darby crashing a car. They just could have done a little bit more to get the live crowd invested as well. I don't know if you have anything to add to all that.
I want to add that people got to take vehicular homicide lessons in AEW. Camille clearly can't drive and can't hit anybody. Darby's just crashing this car and they weren't even in it. You can't wait until you see them get in to crash the car, or you don't see them off to the side, you swerve. A man literally says he swerves when he drives. Why don't you listen to him, Darby? Swerve when you drive and hit the people that you're trying to hit instead of hitting just another vehicle with nobody in it. Where is Swerve? Swerving when he's driving. Swerve just comes out and wrestles. Fuck this wrestling stuff. Start murdering people.
People asking about frame rates. They didn't have that problem tonight because they didn't pre-tape anything to show us live. They were fine. If the Darby thing,
they left Jack Perry for dead, and then what happens? Jack Perry just shows up and wrestles.
Well, yeah, because I assume Anna Jay came and picked him up. Babe. If you get me, we can both wrestle tonight. I'll be right there, babe. Maybe I'll get some dong boots so we can. Sorry, I'm not going to use my favorite Hot Rod reference ever. Do you know that reference? Maybe we can get some dong bags so we can knock boots later.
I've seen Hot Rod. The reference escapes me.
Babe, no, babe, no, babe, wait, no, babe. Best movie.
It's really good.
Babe. Sorry. Go watch the movie. It's fantastic. Okay. Should we cross over and talk WWE now?
More murder in AEW. You can clearly get away with it. Tony's just gonna bail you out. It's fine. Start killing people.
My name is Joel, and I like to party. No one parties more than me. Oh, by the way, Tenders is such a super chat saying, guys, the real story is Kendrick and Mustard. Get on it. I know you want to talk about GNX. I know you want to talk about it.
I mean, I do. It's really good. Everyone should listen to it. I know Grapsody spent some time on it. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. I think it was great. I don't know if it's an album. It's an album. But, there are, of course, theories of like, oh, is this kind of the mixtape before the actual album? But it's largely what I listened to this weekend. I think this and like I really enjoyed Death of Slim Shady. Those are about the only two things I'm listening to right now. But yeah, GNX was great. I like Squabble Up. That's probably my favorite track off there. But like TV Off is like, yeah, that's top tier. That's top tier stuff. But the whole album is good. Reincarnated, that man really channeled Pac. Really channeled him. So I don't think there are any skips on the album. 44 minutes, nice and concise as well. It's good stuff. Kendrick's different, man.
Shout out to everyone who got my references from Hot Rod and is putting over the movie. Fantastic movie. Glad you liked the album.
It is a great movie. You should probably watch it again.
We'll do a watch along of Hot Rod. Hey, you're talking about vehicular homicide. Jade Cargill was knocked out, put on the hood of a car, and that's like a kind of vehicular homicide in that she landed on a car hood.
That looked like it sucked.
It looked like it's painful. You mean you don't mean the angle sucked. You mean it sucked that it looked like it hurts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want people misunderstanding what we're trying to say here.
No,
they'll label us as AEW shills if we're not careful, Jeremy.
The angle is what it is. Like, it was fine. Apparently it's a real injury, so best wishes to Jade Cargill. Hope she heals up well. So they had to write her off. They wrote her off, man. That was brutal looking. Like the way it was one shot. It's not like they showed the attack or anything, but like the ending shot was really good. And now we got a good old whodunit. Maybe it's Adam Cole.
I would like that very much. I'm wondering if they're just going to show the footage next week and that'll be how they figure it out. But
I don't think it's going to be that soon.
Yeah, I think it's a little longer.
Yeah, because Bailey is most likely taking the place of Jade in the WarGames team, which makes sense. I think it's at least after Survivor Series. Because if she's actually out for a period of time, you got to do something with the tag team titles. Oh, I said that like, if she comes back with Shaq, you got to crown Triple H. They just both emerge together out of the ambulance. And then, let him come back with Bow Wow.
He's driving the ambulance. I love it. Yeah, it was Bow Wow. My God. Oh, yeah, so the end of SmackDown. CM Punk is the fifth man. We spent a lot of time talking about why CM Punk wouldn't make sense as the fifth man. And of course, everyone was like, this Paul Heyman guy. And listen, in the moment, I was not a fan of this. In the moment, I was like, this again feels shoehorned. But more I think about it, the more I put into words what could happen out of this. I see it. I just think it felt rushed in a way that was annoying to me. So CM Punk's the fifth man. He's joining the Roman Reigns team. Just like everybody else, Roman Reigns did not recruit these people. Everyone's recruited for Reigns. Reigns is still not a babyface. That's my favorite part of this whole story. The whole time he has not been a babyface. He told you as much when he came back, and now CM Punk has shown up, and he brought back Heyman. Heyman brought back Punk too. So yeah, but your initial reactions to the announcement that CM Punk returns and joins WarGames.
It made sense. We actually did talk about how it could make sense. That doesn't mean I never liked that it went 5-on-5. I thought that he could have just kept it 4-on-4, but they insisted on 5-on-5. So who made sense for Team Roman Reigns? This is the fifth guy. We talked about Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins made sense. They decided not to go with Seth Rollins. Cody Rhodes, Roman said that was old business. And CM Punk always made sense because of the Paul Heyman connection. Because when Roman was gone and Heyman had to stare down with the new bloodline, he was told Punk, like, take me with you. Like, get me out of here. Even when Roman was saying, no, we're not messing with Punk, like Heyman, that's the order of Heyman. We're not concerning ourselves with CM Punk. It makes sense. I still don't fully love it. I still think that they could have just gone 4-on-4 and been fine because we still haven't had that. And I don't know if we will. At some point, we're going to get a Roman and Solo match, 1-on-1. I would think. Maybe not at this point. But I would think at some point we would get that. Punk makes sense, though, because of the connection with Heyman. You know, we saw at the end of Punk saying, I'm only here because of him. Heyman, you know, doing the one, but also doing the pray. Like, he was wearing the black suit with the red shirt, which is a big Solo staple. So there's some little things there. The stuff last week of the number being disconnected. We don't know if Roman talked to Heyman after WrestleMania, after Heyman got put through the table. There's some story to be told here. And there's a big story to be told with Punk and Roman. Whether or not we get more out of that coming out of Survivor Series, heading into Rumble, heading into WrestleMania, don't know. But there's a lot of story to be told here.
And there's another person at the end of this, and that's Seth Rollins. Rollins was courted by the Reigns side of the bloodline, said no multiple times, to the point where everyone was like, okay, he's going to come out, he's going to be the guy. And maybe when Paul Heyman came out, he would have talked Seth Rollins into it. And obviously that's not the case. But now that CM Punk is back, and that is someone that Seth Rollins is not a fan of at all, does Seth Rollins get a little jealous? Because this is Punk taking a spotlight from Rollins. This is Punk taking an opportunity at a main event at a major PLE show from himself. And he gets annoyed and he gets upset about it. Is this the beginning of more story between Punk and Rollins? Roman and Punk is obviously a thing. You know, this is, I forget who had pointed it out, but like we're at the 10-year or more than that, 10-year anniversary of the podcast, the infamous podcast, the Art of Wrestling podcast, the Make Roman Look Strong podcast.
Yeah, they ain't gonna reference that.
I don't know about that. That's the thing, because it's been so long and so much has happened that they might. I know the cult thing, but like it feels like a Roman thing to bring up, like that someone just says something about making Roman look strong, right? And that's like
maybe they do it as like a throwaway thing.
Yeah, it's a tongue-in-cheek thing. It's not a no. It's not a storyline beat, but it's something that they use, and it's just like a quick like I can't believe that happened type of thing. But other than that, I don't think they're gonna make a big deal out of it. More that someone brings up the fact like, oh, remember when, and that's that.
I think Punk could easily reference it because the Shield came in as mercenaries for Punk. That was their whole initial purpose. And of course, Heyman was aligned with Punk at that time. So there's a lot of story you can draw onto that. I wouldn't do it soon. Like, I do think when you are building towards a Punk and Roman match, when and if that happens, yeah, I could easily see Punk sneak it in there. Oh, the Shield came in. Maybe even Punk and Seth Oh, the Shield came in. What was the goal of the Shield? Make Roman look strong. You guys always made Roman look strong. And that's the little wink and the nod that makes sense, but doesn't need to be a full. Punk always loves the wink and nod stuff. So yeah, he could easily say it then.
I'll go in before you, Roman. I want to make you look strong in this match.
Right, that's
I don't know what they'll
it.
say. It's just funny. Yeah, it's again, here's the thing. I couldn't sit here and be like, no, they should have had all this exposition. They should have added all this concept or all this extra, build up to bring out CM Punk. You kind of had to rip off the Band-Aid and you kind of had to get the moment. And you got the moment on Friday when you brought out Punk. You got the moments. Some people were really happy. Some people were really not. But at the end of the day, this includes Punk in a larger story. As long as it does, and again, like Punk and Rollins was a match that was planned before Punk got injured. That was something that was going to happen. That was a WrestleMania match. And now Punk is in a WrestleMania level storyline and Rollins isn't. So it's almost like Punk has reinserted himself into the WrestleMania conversation by being a part of this match. And that's kind of the long-term play of a story like this. And because the history is there, it's one of those things where I hope that the creative tells the story and shapes the narrative to a point where it makes sense, where the history plays in. And then it also rewards you for having been part of this whole thing, 10 years ago or almost 15 when it all started. So there's some good stuff. It's just like in the moment, I understand people being annoyed by it, but you rip off the Band-Aid and you just got to start the story now. And now on Monday Night Raw tonight, they can easily start doing a little something. You got to assume Punk and Rollins are going to be having some sort of interaction. If not together, then apart on the show. It would be silly not to do that. But this is where you start.
Yeah, it makes sense. They have a lot of ways they can go with it. I thought it made sense even there didn't need to be a bit, if it was Punk, and it was, there didn't need to be a Roman needs to talk to Heyman. I thought Roman needed to talk to Heyman if Rollins was kind of involved and if the Sammy stuff wasn't as like, they're kind of kumbaya pretty quick. There wasn't a whole lot. There was no real apology there or anything. The way they did this, though, there didn't need to be Heyman and Roman talking to each other and Heyman trying to convince Roman to do this. It makes more sense of Heyman just coming out and being like, they need a fifth. I'm the wise man. Here's their fifth. And then Roman now having questions of, I don't know about this. Glad Paul's back, but I don't approve of this one. He's the wise man, but he's kind of running plays, calling shots without me. I don't know about that. So they left a lot of questions and a lot of stories to go forward here. How they tell the stories, we shall see. But I think the way they did everything on Friday made plenty of sense.
Roman's also on his own island at this point because, like I was saying earlier, he hasn't brought in anyone for this thing. Jimmy came and stood by Roman's side, and then Jay was brought in by Jimmy. Sammy was brought in by Jay. Punk was added in by Heyman, who basically inserted himself into it after no one contacted Paul. Roman is on his own. Roman doesn't like to be in control, and that's going to be something that he has to now contend with, knowing that all four men around him, 5 including Paul, are completely unattached to his situation. Everyone's kind of putting up with Roman at this point. And they've also laid it out to Roman that if you step out of line, we're going to walk away. No one's being kumbaya, but everyone's kind of like, we're doing this for a greater good and family. That's where they're at right now. So I'm curious as to where the Punk stuff comes in. Punk is going to try and sow some seeds of dissension. Into which side? Who knows? Because he likes to be a shit disturber. So I'm curious.
Well,
he is.
Punk likes Jay. They've established that Punk and Jay are cool.
Yep.
I don't know if Sammy and Punk have had any real interaction. Punk and Jimmy certainly haven't. But Punk and Jay have. Because Punk helped Jay earn the title shot against Damian Priest because he screwed over Drew McIntyre. Punk and Jay are going to hockey games. He's turning Jay into a hockey fan and everything. So there's some appreciation or respect there. And obviously the Heyman tie is there. They've got the pieces to tell kind of any story that they want. It's just a matter of, all right, how are they going to play all of this out? And yeah, we've talked about the Rollins factor, but that's a very big factor into this as well, is how does Rollins come into this? Because I did here's one thing we haven't fully talked about, but that Kevin and Cody promo, that was fantastic. That was absolutely fantastic. And there's a Cody element to all of this as well. There's a Seth Rollins element to all this, because Roman has done so much over the past 4 years, and he's been the focal point of everything for the past 4 years, that it has affected other things. And it's good that that stuff is getting referenced. It's good that Kevin Owens is like, you teamed with this guy who tried to end my career multiple times. I don't like that. And then Cody saying, well, he came to me. Cody, big old fucking liar, by the way. He inserted himself into that whole thing. Roman wanted nothing to do with him. Cody could have stayed out, but he didn't. But I thought that was a fantastic promo. And then Roman, in the backstage, when, they're asking about Seth, he's like, no. They're asking about Cody. No, that's old. That's old business. We're not doing that. And then it just became Punk, because that's where they went. But I do like that there's other pieces at play here that can potentially converge, maybe not in the immediate future, because there are other things that are pressing in the immediate future, certainly with Kevin, Cody, Randy, and whatever Seth is, if he's still feuding with Bronson Reed, or if he does kind of get involved in this mix a little bit. But I do like that they've extended this a little bit, and they can go in many different directions with this story. It's just a matter of how are they going to do it.
So one thing that I want to point out, if Punk is taking Jay to Blackhawks games, this story needs to end with Jay turning on Punk and being like, took me to the shittiest hockey team games you could think of. And then they just feud over how bad the Chicago Blackhawks are. But anyway,
Connor Bedard, there's
a losing team, Jeremy. They have a bunch of losers. That's like me taking you to a Sens game and being like, hey, how about them Sens? And you being like, they suck. There's only one team worse than them, and that's Chicago. And maybe Montreal. Come on.
I mean, that's far worse though. San Jose, but they at least got Macklin Celebrini. They at least got some talent out there. What seems like not actually good. They're better than these teams in the standings, but the Islanders, that's just the team. They ain't really got any player you're like, oh man, can't wait to watch this guy go play. That, or the Blues, those are kind of nondescript, and they just sort of exist teams. At least the Blackhawks got some young players you can get excited about.
Yeah, no, the Islanders.
But that wants to go to Islanders play. I mean, Punk does, because Patrick Waugh's the coach. So he's like, that guy right there, that's the greatest goaltender of all time, and who I base my entire personality off of. And then once he watches Patrick Waugh yell at everybody on the bench, Jay was like, oh, I get it, Oos.
Does Punk come out tonight and say, how does it feel to be alive on a Monday night in whatever town they're in? Where are they tonight?
They're in, I don't know,
Glendale.
Oh, they don't have a hockey team.
Arizona. Not anymore. They don't.
Just
Desert Diamond Arena.
Oh yeah, Punk's a babyface now, so Punk can't bury the team for just moving. I'm sure somebody will. Who's gonna get the heel heat of being like, this place sucks? I see why the Coyotes moved to Utah of all places.
Mormon capital of the world. They love their hockey.
Oh shit, that's right. They're back in Arizona. We got to hit the reference.
Now go home and smoke some more crack.
I just want Roman to do it. Roman comes out just to use that line. Oh my god, that's amazing. Oh yeah, the Kevin Owens and Cody stuff. You mentioned, Cody's been in and out of the bloodline stuff, obviously, the last little while, but now we're going to refocus on the KO side of things. I'm glad that they did that promo, because Jesus Christ, KO has the t-shirt game. You've seen it. He's coming out and has cowboy Bob shirts when he's taking on Randy Orton. And he's got the dusty shirts when he's taking on when he's taking on Cody Rhodes. He shows out in the tuxedo shirts, and he's completely making fun of Cody with the suits. And I love it. And Cody, of course, now is showing up in tracksuits because he got to sell those next. They ain't selling his suits. Now he's doing the tracksuit, and he's super serious, Cody. But like these two guys, I love it. They ripping on each other, and there's a lot of wrestling truths being told. When's the match happening? Because Cody sure as shit doesn't know. Cody's pitching every single show on the docket in the next little while.
I did love that Cody is pitching everything. They were in Utah on Friday. So.
Oh, they'll be there again this coming Friday too.
Yeah. But I do love Cody's like, we can do it tonight. We can do it at Survivor Series. We can do it at Saturday Night's Main Event. And then Kevin said something and like the crowd booed, and Kevin's just immediately like, well, we're definitely not doing it tonight, you ungrateful assholes. Like I assume that was like, they obviously weren't going to do the match tonight, but that was a good ad lib there by Kevin. Like, well, we're definitely not doing it now because you guys suck. I assume it'll be Saturday Night's Main Event because I mean, maybe they set it up for Survivor Series. They got to add something to Survivor Series, right?
There's only 3 matches. Yeah. I assume there's going to be a mid-card title match. There's going to be like maybe a US title match. You put LA Knight and Shinsuke Nakamura. Is that what you put it on that show?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. What about the Intercontinental Championship? You've got Braun Breaker, who doesn't seem to have an opponent right now, does he?
I don't know if you force anything with Braun Breaker. Is there a women's match? You can't. All the titles are accounted for.
Yeah, everyone's in WarGames.
Yeah,
I think that's just they're gonna get away with that, and that's okay. Someone, Jason's mentioning JD and Balor versus War Raiders. I thought that was gonna be like a random Raw, but if you do it at Survivor Series, just get it out of the way.
I haven't done shit for that.
I know. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you just do it on a random Raw, get it out of the way.
Yeah, that feels like it's probably like Raw after Survivor Series type of thing.
Oh, they're doing Kaiser and Breaker tonight. That's right.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of leading into, I don't know, do you do Breaker and Sheamus again and do it on the pay-per-view? Or do you do a 3-way? You do Kaiser, Breaker, and Sheamus.
Yeah, 3-way could make some sense.
I don't think the match tonight is for the Intercontinental Championship. I think it's a non-title match. Okay. But regardless, Breaker and Kaiser is tonight.
Okay.
But you can make it.
Yeah, 3-way makes some sense to potentially do that.
Do you do the SmackDown tag titles? You put those online. You do DIY Street Profits, and everything's a 3-way right now, and I don't love that. Is this WarGames or is this Triple Threat? What's going on here? Do you do DIY Street Profits and Motor City Machine Guns, or do you just do that on SmackDown? But SmackDown's been taped, and I don't remember if it was taped.
Just do just do Street Profits against Motor City again. DIY, Tommaso Ciampa was a big old jerk, and he interrupted the last match. I don't know, Street Profits should get a clean shot again.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. We'll see what happens. Wilson sent a super chat saying they legit make Camille Raquel Gonzalez. Did she make someone mad? It feels so. What is this supposed to be? It feels so
gross.
Maybe? Gross. Great gassed. Okay, sorry. It feels so good. Yeah, Camille is what it is. Going back to that.
Raquel wearing a top that like was only front, and so her back was showing. Amazing. Committed to the bit.
Back is back, baby. The back never left if you try hard enough. Oh man. But yeah, like you've got 3 matches on the Survivor Series card, and I don't know what else they're gonna add. I assume they'll do a LA Knight and Shinsuke. That's 4, and the show's supposed to start at like 2:30 in the afternoon. So that's
good.
That's PST. Sorry, that's Pacific time. So that's still 6:30, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's 5:30.
It's starting at 6. Main card
at 6. Still, that's early. If they're out by 9, I'm happy about that.
Good.
Yeah.
That's when they should be done with this shit. I'm fine if they do 4 hours. I don't think they will, but that's still over by 10. This is what I like. I'd like go do your 4-hour shows. Completely fine with that. Just end it at a decent hour. That's all I want. Why is it starting so early? It's just There's no UFC card.
Maybe that's something with the Vancouver side of things. It could have been like, where are they? They're at Rogers Arena.
They got to change it over so the Canucks can play at like 10
That's
o'clock.
kind of-
That'd be hilarious.
Kind of my feeling is like, did they have
No, they're not going to double book the arena like that.
No, not that night, but I mean, like they can do it like this, but I don't know what's going on that they're doing it this way.
It's a weird start time that it's this
Billie
way.
Eilish is coming on the 3rd.
So
I assume it's a big setup, but that's a 3rd. That's 3 days notice.
I don't think that's going to matter that you can't start the show 2 hours later.
I don't know when their trucks come in. I don't know when their trucks are coming in.
Or an hour later, because their shows have started at like 7 recently.
Yeah.
So 7's not that big of a difference.
It is a holiday weekend in the States. Like it is Thanksgiving weekend. So maybe their feeling is get the talent out that evening, or at least like, just give them a little bit of time. Because it's Saturday.
It's Saturday and it's like 3 Pacific. So it's an early afternoon for the time zone that they're in. So yeah, if it is travel, like, hey, good on them. They taped SmackDown this week, so people didn't have to travel. They don't have to travel until Saturday. I don't know if they're doing like media scrums or whatever for this show, because I don't think talent is going to really be there on Friday. Some of them might not get in until Friday night, Saturday morning.
That was the thing with last year. I'm trying to remember. This happened with WWE recently too in Canada, where they came to a show and they were like, we don't know if they're doing any media because it's a holiday weekend. And then they did. Maybe that was Elimination Chamber, but that was February. Regardless, there's always something. And it feels like maybe it is. They're going to finish the show, let everyone kind of get out after their matches, or, be loaded up and get on a plane as soon as they can and get out of town. That's fine. Again, it's their weekend. They should have time with their families. And we kind of win because the show finishes at a reasonable hour.
Yeah, it rules.
And it's not like you can't just rewind later and watch it. Oh, it was Money in the Bank was July 4th weekend. That's exactly what it is. Thank you, Jason. And they were unsure if they were going to bring people in. And then they did. And then it worked out. So no one can complain about that. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Survivor Series. What else from the world of professionalized styles of wrestling do you want to touch from this weekend?
Bloodsport was really good. Everyone should go watch Bloodsport. It's always a great show. It's always something different. It's always one of my favorite shows, WrestleMania weekend, and now it's running not on WrestleMania weekends because it's become such a thing. So Bloodsport was good. Ricky Starks showed up in GCW.
Ricky Starks will be on Chris Van Vliet's show tomorrow. That drops. He just announced. So there you go.
Hope he buries everybody.
I hope he does too. Lots to write about there. The Ricky Starks stuff is interesting. Shows up at the mall. Got his bag down the escalator. That shit ruled. CW.
I popped so much when he's like high-fiving the fan. The fan's like putting their arm out, and Ricky's like, "Yeah, great entrance."
That's wrestled. I want everyone to do that to me at a mall. I just want to high five people at the mall. Just walk on by. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? I'm making good decisions in life. I'm gonna go buy a PlayStation. Yeah.
Sure you could. I'm sure like people would, appreciate that. Like,
that's true.
Yes.
Black Friday, good deals. People be all about it. Yeah. Anyway, what else? The Speedball and Josh Alexander match from Bloodsport was really good. Got to see part of that.
Yeah, everything was good. Carmen Petrovic hit a spin kick, basically a Trouble in Paradise, knocking out Sumi Sakai. But that was good. Charlie Dempsey, MVP, and Josh Barnett was really fun. So it was an overall good show. It's a very quick show too, especially like live. It's about 2.5 hours, give or take. But if you watch it on replay, you can skip all of the like ads that they air between, because it's like match. Here's an ad for GCW at Hammerstein. Match. Here's what happened on this GCW show. Match. Like if you just go through and just watch the matches, every match is like 5 to 10 minutes. So you can get through this show in a quick hour if you want. Good
for them. That's what I want, just to get through shows as quickly as humanly possible. It's wrestling. Who cares? There's The only thing that I really have on my list was the report that Sean dropped about the comp tickets. I thought that was very funny. I thought that was very interesting, and like people are saying, it's not fair, or there are multiple ways.
Breaking news.
Oh, I love it. Let's go.
Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, Saturday night's main event.
I feel like that was already like the plan.
Well, yeah, but this makes it official. So
It does. Actually, Kate and I had a conversation about this, about the idea of, because I mentioned to her the the Takeshita and Ricochet match being announced on Thursday at 10 p.m. She's like, well, that was already expected. And I said, well, expected versus announced is the difference between a pay-per-view show and a television show. And this is a really good example of this. So there you go. It's going to be that match, Saturday night's main event, which I feel like it was rumored, and I'm glad to see that they've put it out there. It's happening.
Do you think Kevin sent in like a memo of like, hey, this is when I want the match? Because it was on his terms, right?
I think he got in his car after SmackDown, turned on his phone, set it up in the dash, and said, I have one request for this show, and that is we do it at Saturday night's main event. And then he sent the video to Triple H, and Paul's just like, Kevin, I told you don't have to send me a video every time you have demands. And Kevin's like, I don't want to work the thing. I just want to send you the video. And that's it.
Kevin should win.
Yeah. I mean, we've been saying that for a while, so I guess I can get behind
I've
it.
been beaten that Cody just should lose the title at some point. Drum. Like, I fully expect him to go into WrestleMania as the champion. I don't need a year long of him knocking off people. I understand why he's beaten the people he's beaten. At some point, though, like, you can't make everyone lose that comes up against them. I know they did it for a year with Roman. I get all that, but 4 years with Roman, should say. But like,
Well, that got stale too after a while.
yeah, Kevin has been on fire. So like Kevin winning this and going to great lengths to win this. And there's stories there with Cody losing the title, and that'll be okay. Especially if he does get it back before Mania, and like it's fine. But yeah, I'd have Kevin win this, honestly. I would.
So I agree, but unfortunately, I have a feeling that Randy Orton will help Cody Rhodes. He'll come back
that man's dead.
Allegedly. KO should tease the package pile driver, and then all of a sudden you hear the song, and out comes Randy Orton.
Nah, I don't know. No, I mean maybe like it's possible. I'd just have Kevin win. I'd have Kevin win.
I'm fine with the hot potato. I'm fine with that. Have Kevin usher in the Netflix era as the champion, even though it's on SmackDown. But still, my point being, have him do that, and then eventually, like Cody wins it back at like the Rumble or something like that, or the Elimination Chamber when he puts the title on the line in the Elimination Chamber. I don't know, but I'm fine with a little bit of moving stuff around. Cody doesn't need to be the champion forever, and I think that after a while it gets a little it can get a little stale. However, the Kevin Owens story that they're telling now is probably the best one that they've had in quite a while for Cody. So it's like I believe in the idea of doing a title change and then having him win the title back. But also, Cody is really good when he's taking on like super bad guys. So we'll see what they do at Saturday night's main event.
That Cody promo too. We talked a little bit about it, but like both of those guys were on fire.
Yeah,
in that promo, like, real good heat, real good intensity. It's really fiery stuff that it made sense. They tied up some things, but tied a lot of things just together in general. And like, Cody babyface fire promos, he's one of the best at them. He really is. I'm certainly not Steven Jensen when it comes to Cody Rhodes, but I will give the man his due when it comes to these fired up promos. When he's on his game, there ain't too many like him. And Kevin's Kevin. And Kevin just, at the very least, Kevin's going to make everything make sense. And he's going to make you believe that he is correct. And he's going to tie up just loose ends of like, if you have questions about something, Kevin's going to explain it. And there's a skill in that. on top of making it believable and making you believe in him or making you believe in his challenger.
And again, we go back to what's going on with Roman and Punk and that long-term story, or at least that the years of history between the two, both in and out of WWE. You can do the same thing with Kevin and Cody Rhodes. There is story there. The career trajectories being as different as they've been, there's another story you can hint at, you can play with, you can do with. And that's, again, one of the positives of doing this particular story, the way that they're presenting it. And again, if you do it with Randy, similar situation to Cody, where if Cody and Randy have any sort of face-off, there is so much history from when Cody was coming up in the business and Randy was on top. Now Cody's on top and Randy wants to be back on the fold. There's a lot that you can tell. And this is finally the moment where we're getting into like the Cody Rhodes away from the bloodline for real, not just like Solo's coming back. It is now Cody on his own for real. And I like that.
Kevin's going to beat him because Cody's a jerk. And he turns
Cody
his
is
back on
such
his
a jerk.
friends.
Hates his friends. Tonight on Monday Night Raw, it is the Women's WarGames Advantage match. Bianca Belair takes on Nia Jax. Feel like Nia Jax is going to win.
Yeah, the heels are always better in the advantage matches. So, yeah, Nia Jax probably should win.
Ludwig Kaiser versus Braun Breaker. Like I said earlier, I think we're going to set up a triple threat out of this. Sheamus comes out. He's going to cause it, and then they'll do the match at Survivor Series. Breaker, Kaiser, and Sheamus. Tornado tag match. Yeah, exactly. Tornado tag match. Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee team up to go off against American Mata is what's written here. We should probably fix that. Julius Creed and Brutus Creed. Sure. The LWO American Made thing is what it is. I just think American Made is going to get the win, or they're going to lose, and then out comes Chad Gable, and he's going to beat the shit out of both men until they all slap five, and I don't know what that's about.
American Made should probably win this, right? Like, they keep losing. At some point, they got to win. After
what happened on Monday, you have to assume that they're going to win, but at the same time, I don't know if like Gable's going to come out and lose. If American Made loses and Chad Gable comes out and they do the pumping up where they slap each other and they go fist to face, like maybe they keep doing that and just become big old losers who think they're better than they are. Like, they should win is really what it comes down to. But like, Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee have so much. Well, Dragon Lee has so much more potential out of all this too.
He's the speed champion.
Yes, you'll never see it on the show, but he is the speed champion. Congratulations to him. New Day take on Alpha Academy. This week is the 10 week or the 10 year.
Nope, next week.
Really? I thought this was a whole thing. Oh, because they started like this week, but it's not on the date. It's one of those things.
They've already confirmed it for next week, by the way. So it's like legitimately next week. I'm not making this up.
Because that was the thing for a while. Everyone was like, when does this shit start?
Yeah. People were unsure because they were just like, yeah, we're going to do it. But they never gave an announced date. They've given an announced date. It's next week.
Yeah. Their in-ring debut was November 28th. That's why it was like, it's not there yet. It's Wednesday this week, but instead they're going to do next week. Is it Wednesday or is it Thursday? But regardless, it'll be next week. Great. Wonderful. Wicked. Are they going to win? Or are they going to lose to Alpha Academy?
They should beat Alpha Academy, right? Like, I would say if they were up against American Made, then I'd be okay with them losing because I think American Made needs it. Alpha Academy, they're not going to do anything with Alpha Academy. I guess the story is, well, New Day lost. They can't even beat Alpha Academy. That's how bad things are for them right now. But it feels like they should at least beat Alpha Academy. Maybe Woods does some underhanded tactics type of thing that Kofi's upset about. Like, they're not going to be on the same page. That's the bigger picture here, is they're not going to be on the same page one way or another. I think you can have them win because it's Alpha Academy. You're not going to elevate them off of this. At least they're seemingly not going to. So you can have New Day win, but still be not on the same page because of Woods' actions.
Hot take: Tozawa pins Xavier Woods.
I guess if you want to do that, I don't know about that, but
and then Woods gets really upset him and Kofi fight some more. And then next week it's a super tense New Day special, and Big E has to come in and smooth it all over.
Do you think we get Big E tonight because the celebration is next week? Do you think Big E is, maybe it's a backstager, although if he's there, I'd probably have him on television, like in front of the live crowd. But do you think we get a Big E appearance tonight?
If he does appear, then he comes in to set up. It's next week, and I'm going to be there, and we're going to do a big segment in the ring. They do a backstager tonight to set up that next week he'll be live, at the show type of thing.
I'd be pissed if I was at this show and Big E just did a backstage. You better bring him out for the live crowd after the show.
There's enough going on in this show that it won't be too.
Is
bad.
there?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Bianca Belair and Nia Jax is a good match.
Sure.
The tornado tag is whatever. You see Rey Mysterio, people like Rey. Kaiser Breaker is fine. I'm sure that they're going to have segments with CM Punk. I'm sure that Seth Rollins will be there. Definitely Rollins. Don't know for sure with Punk. But there will be some stuff.
At this card, as it's currently presented, there ain't enough going on to where I'd be satisfied if Big E is there and does a backstage and I don't get to see him come out live.
That's fair. That
seems
just
like a waste.
That's just your opinion, man. I'm
just seems like a waste.
I'm gonna take a look, see if I can find the WrestleTix information, see how that's looking. Where are they tonight?
I'm sure it's doing okay because they're not giving away any comps.
Which honestly, I saw that and I was like, sure, why not? There are 500 tickets left. They have sold over 12,000 tickets for a setup of 12,228 has been sold, 12,818. This was as of November 20th. So it's been 5 days. They will more than likely sell out. It's a hot ticket. That's the whole thing. That was my takeaway from the report. It's they, again, 50select.com, we had a whole thing about, the comps that are or are not given to WWE stars and families. It is what it is. I understand the frustration that some WWE wrestlers are going to have about not being able to bring in their family for free. But at the same time, I also understand that capitalism dictates you make as much money while the iron is hot. And that's just the way it is.
So do you think that WWE, do you think the wrestlers are going to be like, we got to make the show suck again so we can get comps?
Yes, I think they should absolutely sink the show. They're trying all they can. We're going to do 2-hour Raws. Oh, people seem to like that now. We're going to give shit performances. No, people still like you. Damn it. Can't win.
They should just start, doing terrible matches so the show sucks again. But they get their comps. That's all good.
Hey, you want to come and see this shitty show, family? Nah, you're not good anymore. It's like a double-edged sword. Their families want to come and support them because they've seen so much cool stuff, but now the show sucks and they're like, no, we're good. We're going to go watch another program. We're going to go to TNA. We'll go to GCW. I hear they're giving out free towel. I'm not getting into that bullshit.
I told you that they were going to, the street team was going to be there and everything.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Yeah.
I cannot give a shit less about that discourse. Go to a wrestling show. Go to a wrestling show, get off your ass and go. Don't be a dickhead to other people on the internet and just go to a show yourself, damn it.
Yeah, I don't know if they were giving tickets or not. They were definitely doing flyers. They should.
Yes.
They were in the same place. They were in the same area. Ricky was at the GCW show. They should put flyers on. You have 10,000. You have access to basically 10,000 wrestling fans at Full Gear. Why wouldn't you try to sell your Hammerstein show?
Have you not been to a wrestling show and left and there's the local talent?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're giving out stuff. It happened at Dynamite in Toronto. The guys from Greektown, including the guy who runs the damn thing, they were all out there. They're flyering, they're papering. They got people coming in. They had Wardlow coming in for that show. They wanted to promote the fact that, they were running. And I get it. GCW is on a bit of a different plane than your local indie, but they're running a show locally. It's a big event. And they did just kind of get stepped on by the AEW announcement running the same venue, 30 days earlier.
Running it 3 times too.
Yeah, and 3 times too. And you and I talked about that, is how that might look. The point being is You're going to go out there and you're promoting. Who gives a shit? If you're giving away some comp tickets, listen, who cares? Who cares? Like, why do you care about you getting maybe some free tickets up in the top mezzanine at the back? You're in the door. You got in the door. You get to go. Is it on you? Like, you know how you can pay that back if you're worried about, I'm going to bankrupt GCW? Buy the merch. Go to the show, buy the merch. Guess what? There's more than one way to make money in wrestling. Go support, if you're going to support the companies, go support them in the ways that you can with your wallet if you're in that position. If you get the free tickets and you cannot support them in another way, guess what you can do? You can cheer. You can enjoy the show. Don't go to social media and just be a dickhead about it. Way too much of that shit. I can tell you, moving over from one to the other, social media-wise, right now it's good. Is it going to be good forever? No, but I also trust the moderation on the other side has been much better. We'll leave it at that. But just, if you're going to go to the show and have fun. We talk about it all the time. The online discourse about if a show was good or not, people who were there, 9 times out of 10 will tell you they had a good time, that they were entertained, they enjoyed it, and they're happy they went. Very rarely will you hear someone say, that show sucked and I wasted all my money.
Until now, because the wrestlers are going to tank the show so they can hand out more comps.
That's right. And now we're all going for free. Yeah. I wonder if I'm going to Elimination Chamber now that Sean's going. We're going to have to figure out it. Anyway, anything you want to plug before we get on out of here?
Never.
Good. We're back on Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Who knows what we'll do, but we'll figure it out just for you. Leave a comment on what we should do on Wednesday. Boom! Kind of blew that one a little early, but okay.
No, I hit my mark.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So did they. Good on them. Hope to see them back in the ring, Costco boys. For Jeremy Lambert, I am Actual Pearl.
Guys, they're not the Costco boys. They're the Costco guys.
They're my Costco boys. Someone asking if we can move to 11 a.m. No, we cannot. They're my Costco boys. Deep at heart.
What?
I don't know.
What?
Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, we'll be back on Wednesday.
Now go home and smoke some more